All right, let's hear it.
If critical race theory
There he is.
were only a theoretical or philosophical or intellectual issue, I would definitely start with definitions. In fact, I would start with a biblical argument for why definitions and clarity and transparency are essential for Christian faithfulness to Scripture and to God, especially when spiritual forces of darkness and confusion and deception are in the air, which they are. Paul calls Satan the prince of the power of the air. And Satan's specialty in this world is deception through twist.
Seems like we're going to get a big, gigantic, humongous, ginormous butt right here. It seems like he's setting us up to say, like, actually, definitions maybe aren't important because there's so many feelings involved. I don't know what he's going to say, but that's what it sounds like.
Twisted truths and half-truths. And deception flourishes in the fog of confusion, and confusion is deepened and advanced through the lack of clarity, and clarity is only possible where we know the meaning of terms that we're each using when we talk to each other. So I hope you can see how seriously I take definitions and clarity and transparency in communication, and I do intend to get to as much definitional clarity as I'm capable of, but not in this episode of Ask Pastor John. I'm not going to start with that, and I hope you'll see why.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see why in just a minute. You know, actually, I'm in the process of writing my book right now, How to Defeat the Woke Church Movement, talking to publishers about, you know, who I'm going to go with and stuff like that. It's a work in progress, so if you pre-ordered it, it's coming. I'm working on it. But one of the early chapters, I talked about how conversations are framed, and they're very rarely framed appropriately from the social justice woke church side. And so what it seems like Pastor John is about to do here is about to pump the primer, if you will. And when you're talking about the social justice movement, woke church, critical theory, the way that it's often pumped, the primer is pumped, is to get the emotional juices flowing. And it puts you on your back foot because now if you start to criticize, now you're like, well, it's like criticizing a crying woman. Like why would, like when a woman's crying in front of you, you don't want to challenge her. You want to comfort her and stuff like that. And so often the woke church movement will put, you know, blacks, Latinos, people that are pushing this critical race theory stuff in the place of the woman that you're trying to console. And sometimes they even overtly do it. They draw comparisons between the husband and the wife, and black people are the wife. Like, it's just so twisted. And so oftentimes the primer is pumped and it gets you, you gotta think about how this makes people feel. And it's like, well, no, yeah, we do have to consider feelings, but truth is more important than feelings because truth is a person, right? We have to be dedicated to the truth as Christians. And so I don't know what he's about to do here, but often what gets done is they pump the primer with emotions. They want you feeling before you think. And sometimes you never get to thinking. It's just feel, go to the protest and feel some more. Sometimes they do eventually get around to thinking, which it sounds like Pastor John's committing to doing here. But it's like, feel first. I want you to feel what I feel first and then think. No. We have to keep our wits about us. We have to be sober-minded. You know what I mean? That's what the Bible's talking about when it's talking about being sober-minded. Yes, of course, it means not drunk also. But sober-mindedness means that you need to be even-keeled. You can't run with emotions. You can't join the lynch mobs the next time a black guy gets shot by a white cop and just assume this is a racist killing. Like that's what they do all the time. Pump the primer. It certainly seems like he's about to pump that emotional primer right now. And if he does, that's a real shame because that's actually employing critical theory in a thing where you're potentially going to be criticizing critical theory, which I find extremely interesting.
Before we're done, critical race theory is not only a bundle of beliefs and ideas and ways of thinking about race and other important things. it has also become a relationally destructive means of defamation. And that's what I want to talk about first. The way Christians treat each other and talk about each other when it comes to this issue of race, or more specifically, critical race theory. So I know this first session is going to be frustrating. We hope to do 2 of these. And I know this first one is going to be frustrating to listeners because my guess is that thousands of you listening to this right now don't have any clear idea what critical race theory is.
Yeah, so for those thousands of people, what I want to do is I want you to feel your way through this. It's about how we treat each other and how we hurt each other's feelings with critical theory. And in such a way, I can poison the well, so that way when I explain it later, you can be suspicious of anyone who uses the word critical theory. That's a terrible John Piper impression.